you have birds. That's great.
Yeah. Sorry, they're so loud.
No, it's delightful. So just to kind of give, I guess, you, Juliana, we're recording this so people can listen to it later or see it later,
Okay.
just like you watched 1 Million Cups thing this morning, or whenever you watched it. And so anyway, we'll introduce ourselves as if we're talking to more people than just you. But you might be our main audience. Isn't that exciting?
That's exciting. Yeah.
All right. Anyway, so I'm Adam Sparks Brechtel, and I started a business called Sparks Flow last April, and then I also joined as an organizer for this thing called 1 Million Cups, which is for entrepreneurs to build their
Yeah.
business and like interact and network. And Sparks Flow, my main focus is on helping family businesses have a good workflow in all the stuff they do, and really reach their optimal experience in their workplace. Anyway, so this was kind of on my brand, but of the 3 people presenting today, I am the least experienced, and so it's kind of exciting. So Eric, he'll introduce himself. He's also a Million Cups organizer, and Miriam is actually my business coach, as a happenstance. Anyway, so Eric and Miriam, or Eric?
Let's see. Hi. I think you can still hear me. I'm doing some behind the scenes-y kind of stuff. But yes, my name is Eric Renz-Whitmore. I'm Director of eShip Communities for an organization called Forward Cities. Basically, what we do is equitable entrepreneurial ecosystems, or more inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystems in several different places around the country. But my home base and love is for Albuquerque in New Mexico. So I was the person who sort of founded our local 1 Million Cups chapter, but I've been involved with a lot of other aspects of our entrepreneurial community, from high tech and startups to more food producers and other kinds of business. So happy to be part of this experiment. And I will hand it off to Miriam, who's just been, she's just a rockin' person from the community who makes a lot of great things happen.
Hello, I'm Miriam Ortiz y Pino. My company is More Than Organized, and I'm a certified professional organizer and coach, often small businesses and especially people that work from home. So I've been doing a lot of this virtual stuff for about 12 years with my clients. So I've seen it grow and expand, and I'm quite familiar with some of the pitfalls and some of the extra skills that you need to pull off productive days while working virtually. That's it. I'm happy to be here and help support Adam and entrepreneurs in general. So that's me in a nutshell.
Thanks, Miriam. So we got the setup we're gonna do, Juliana, is we're gonna each kind of give 3 quick tips about doing virtual, and then it'll be open discussion. So
okay.
we're all gonna have a good conversation after that. Eric, can you pull up the PowerPoint on Google? There it is. There is our very
awesome.
Good.
It worked.
Yes. Apparently, this is also masculine because it's black and white. Miriam is explaining how this is a very masculine setup. But good for us. Anyway, so we did our intros. So we'll go to the next slide. Okay. So first tip. Oh, and I forgot to change it back to Adam's 3 tips. Okay. Anyway, so does this show up automatically as I'm changing on here? No, it doesn't.
No,
I think I might need to back out.
Edit.
Do we want to back that out, or do we want to be warts and all?
Warts
Miriam,
and all, keep going. We don't have time for this.
Yeah, the formatting is lame, right?
Yep. There we go.
But she's good. Okay, so 3 tips anyway. So relax. As you can see, we're trying to do that. You'll never know it all. So technology, virtual like work is totally different than what we were born with, right? We had all this time to grow up with, unless you're a virtual native or what do they call it?
Digital native.
Thank you. Digital native. But even if you're digital native, like things constantly change. Facebook, for instance, you know, they're already coming out with a new setup, and I don't know how long ago the old one was. And so everyone has to constantly relearn everything, and you'll never know it all. So don't expect to, and you don't have to master it like you master penmanship or the Civil War, you know. And I guess I saw that was your background, Juliana, that you have social studies in there. So like you already know you can't master those things either, right?
Right.
So it's the same idea. There's just maybe more pompous people you deal with that don't recognize that, and you just, you know, write them up. It's okay. So, and an example I have is if you Google conference called Bingo, you'll see there's like it's a PDF or something. It says you can start filling in these spots of what you hear on the conference call. Like, hi, who just joined? Sorry you cut out there. Your screen just grayed out. Sorry, I was talking on mute. Things like that. Anyway, so having that will help you relax too. If you print that out and put it next to your presentation or next to your computer. Record the process. This is actually something that I was kind of doing a bit of, but when I took Miriam on as a coach, she said, this is like, you must do this. If you think you will remember something later on, write it down. It doesn't matter if you think you'll remember it later on, because it'll be really handy if you don't do it for a while. Or you can, what I often do is I use it to like give myself little tips along the way that I can glance at, and it'll save all kinds of time and frustration. And my third tip is decide the platform, especially if you're working with other people. And this goes, obviously we're choosing Zoom today, but like Google Docs, for instance, is another thing. Eric hasn't used it for a while, but you know, it's where I'm comfortable, so it's what I use. I'm working with another group. We're designing a product, and we have so many different. We got Microsoft, we have Linux, we have Google, and all these things that we're trying to like communicate to, and it is a mess. So pick one and go with it. Thank you. Eric, you're up.
Oh boy. All right, let's see. And it works. I love it. So yeah, and thanks Juliana and everyone for bearing with us. So about a couple weeks ago, I did a little scan of sort of remote work practices and what was going around. And this is kind of the very early stages of coronavirus, where things were starting to change, but hadn't really, you know, gone past the tipping point of requesting like many people working from home. So for a little more context, I've been part of the Forward Cities team for about 6 months. And there's maybe, give or take, maybe a third or a fourth of us are distributed employees. So there's a central office in Durham, North Carolina. Everybody's now working from home, but the rest of us are scattered a little bit. And I'm managing a couple of folks out scattered across the U.S. But one of the things that's, it was a struggle for me, I'll admit, going from more of an office when I worked for City of Albuquerque to this distributed role. And one of the key things that I think really became, you know, at the front of my mind was this documentation need. And Adam mentioned or touched on this really briefly. We lose a lot of the value of communication. I love our new guest. What a beautiful looking new guest.
That is Kate.
But we lose so much in not necessarily seeing people's faces. And even if we do, if we're not really face to face in the same room, we don't necessarily get all the information we typically would if we're in that face to face kind of situation. So one of the things that I, in scanning and listening to podcasts and learning from other folks around the country, is documentation, and sometimes real-time documentation. So what I'm doing right now with when I'm doing sort of a like an employee review or just kind of a weekly check-in, is we'll actually put a notepad up, we'll put a Google Doc up with the agenda for the meeting, and we'll do notes on the fly. That way we know, you know, if someone's assigned to do something, what are the tasks, what are the topics we talked about. Because oftentimes folks don't necessarily record all the calls, but if we have some notes about what it was discussed and who's taking what on, it's really helpful to be able to refer back to a document. So that's something that I learned. And actually, I'll just give credit to Code for America for instituting that for me. One reason is that let's see, if you're working on some kind of project in Code for America, often those are code projects. If someone leaves the team or you got somebody else who wants to pick it up and does some kind of fix, it's really helpful for them to know what was the thought process that got to a different location. So it's not just like, the bullet points, but it's some of the process kind of recording that Adam just talked about. So documentation is really, really key. And I actually recommend doing real-time documentation with the folks you're talking with as you're doing it. We were tasked with coming up with 3 tips, and I'm not sure that I really do have 3 tips. So the thing that I'll say is communication's about people, and depending on what your situation is, if there's an organization, they probably already have some structure. But if it's just you and other individuals or you're running it, some working groups I'm part of, folks don't want to use a tool, say Slack or something else. So it's good if you have standards, but sometimes also depending on what you need to do, the people are come first, and the tool that people use is better than the tool that's best that folks don't use. So I'll just say communication's about people. And getting back to something Adam mentioned also earlier, and that goes into this documentation piece, is we lose those when somebody smiles or somebody's getting information from you. We're losing a lot of that even when we are on video, when we're not in person. So if you recognize that you're losing 20-30% of what you typically would get out of a meeting, that's one of the things that makes it useful to confirm things if you're in doubt when you're talking with people online, or to write things down, to do a follow-up email of some kind or follow-up communication of some kind saying, this is what I think we talked about. Because we're all in this kind of sort of sketchy space right now, and it's better to have a few things that we know for sure that we can count on versus a lot of fuzzy stuff that's kind of in the back of our minds, adding to the stress that many of us are already feeling. So those are my 3 tips for now, and I will hand it off to Miriam.
Cool. I love those tips. And I jotted several things down that I'm going to take forward as ways of languaging them. My tips are, especially if you're new to working from home or working virtually, some people have different amount of structure already in place through their companies. But give yourself some grace over the next couple weeks. There is a lot of change going on really quickly, and our brains don't actually know how to process that. We like the status quo until we're dead. And so you have to realize that your unconscious brain needs to catch up with all these changes and differences. And because it's new, we're learning new things. If you're now working at your home office and you didn't have a home office and you've had to set up your dining room table or whatever, it's different. It's just enough different that it puts stress on your brain. So give yourself some grace that things will not be smooth for the next couple weeks. And then you should be able to fall into a more comfortable routine with it as you get used to it. Having said that, stick to the routines you do already have as much as possible, because that takes some stress of rethinking everything off your brain. And an interesting thing I found when I started working from home, I would feel really guilty that I didn't work the full 8 hours. It was like, I didn't do my work. And then I was talking to a friend of mine who also, he's an architect and has been working from home for about 20 years as well. And he's like, yeah, but the average office worker only works 6 hours a day. And that was before the internet really kicked in. And so now the last time I saw actual numbers of how much work people do every day, it's like 90 minutes in an office setting. So when you factor in interruptions and useless meetings and trips to the coffee maker and all that stuff, if you're at home, you have some flexibility. You know, you might have to be on an actual call or something, but you have a little more flexibility about how you want to focus your work and when you want to work. So on the one hand, you want to stick to some routines. On the other hand, do not beat yourself up if you feel like, I just worked a whole bunch and it's only noon, because you might have actually gotten more done. It's like that going into work at 7 so you can get a certain amount of work done before everyone else gets to the office concept. You can structure things so that you can get as much done in like 90 minutes to 2 hours as you would in 8. So know that that's an option. And you want to create some dedicated workspace. There is something to actually knowing where your workspace is, even if you don't work there all the time. But for calls, I often work on my couch. Yesterday I spent 2 hours propped up in my bed with my laptop. You know, I work at the dining room table sometimes. I walk around in circles when I work with my coaching clients. But I have this office, and when I need to do something that's in front of other people, like a Zoom or whatever, I'm in my office and it's set up for work. So I'm able to focus a lot quicker once I get to this space and get that stuff really done. And in addition to those things, I just wanted to mention, I'm not sure, it kind of goes through all 3 of these tips. And so I wanted to take a moment to mention it. Getting in the right mindset, you know, we are not on vacation right now. We are in a survival mode. We are in a things are new and different and we don't know what's happening mode. And we are, let's rescue as much of our business as we possibly can mode. And so while it can sound like fun to go to work in your pajamas every day, that's another one of those routines you want to stick with. Now, having said that, I am currently wearing my slippers. And I have been known to make phone calls wearing my pajamas, but wearing some fancy work shoes, because your costume actually can influence the way you are expressing yourself verbally. So know too that there is what Eric was saying about communication and the loss of context and things. If you are trying to make a sale in your slippers, you might not be as in tune with what their objections are. You might you might be more casual, like, oh yeah, whatever. Okay, let me know. Instead of like, well, what's the actual objection? I'm on a timeline to get some stuff done, and I'm wearing the right shoes to do that. But also, when you're doing, like, for instance, this call, I am actually talking to you at about 50% more than I usually talk to people in person. So your energy level is diminished when you're doing things virtually. When I'm on the phone, it's at about 30% higher. When I'm doing video, it's about 50% higher than I would be expressing myself in person. So just know that you have to amp it up a little bit to get the same level of point across. That's it.
Thank you, Miriam.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, so the plan was to make most of the time discussion. We have about how much time left on this particular Zoom conference?
It's about 20 minutes.
Okay, so for the next 20 minutes, it's kind of open discussion and sharing knowledge, or like just asking any questions you guys have. And if you don't have questions, then we can entertain ourselves by talking amongst ourselves. But hopefully you've got questions for us that you direct at anyone you want. If you have someone specific you want to talk to, you can direct it towards them. Or if you want to talk to just anybody, that's great too.
Okay.
It's like a
mastermind. You can start by introduce yourself by your name, and then whatever business affiliation you want to have in there. Like if you're starting a business, or if you just want to give a job title or anything, give whatever information you want. But a nice thing is if you give the business you're actually working with, it gives us context and could possibly boost your business.
Sure. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
My name is Juliana Kerwin. I'm a printmaker, and I have my studio at home, but it's located on Mountain and 8th Street. And I'm kind of here, I guess, representing a lot of artists right now who are trying to figure out how to, survive this and get people to possibly come to their studios in a virtual way.
Oh.
by giving classes or some kind of instruction that would support both the artist. And there's so many children at home right now. I think that as artists we could give a lot of support to parents who need things for their kids to do. So yeah, I am lucky to have my studio at home. So I kind of have the opposite problem of, like setting up a workspace. My workspace is always set up, and sometimes I have to tell myself to stop. Go in the house, get something to eat. So I'm very busy. Printmaking processes are very, technical and long and drawn out. So it takes a long time to make a good print. So that requires attention and time, which I'm lucky to have right now. I taught art in the public schools for 12 years, and I'm now on my own as an artist. I've always been doing my art, but I've returned to it in a bigger way now. And I also have a public art project that I'm doing. It's called Banners on Mountain Road, and it involves 13 different artists who have come together to make prints that express the history of our neighborhood. And those will be going up on the lampposts in May, but because of this situation, I'm having trouble getting some of the funding that I usually get to support part of the project, like marketing and promotion, that kind of thing. It's a public art, so I have the money for the actual banners and the installation of the banners. So yeah, that's kind of my introduction.
Well, thank you, Juliana. That's great. You mentioned I bike down mountain all the time, but also you mentioned the getting funding. And just before the conference, Miriam was mentioning how some businesses can get lost in the cracks. And unfortunately, especially in crises like this, the arts are one of the ones to get hit hardest as far as funding goes. So
yeah,
that's a serious deal. Do you guys have any advice right off the bat?
Eric had a question.
Got to remember to unmute. That is one of the key things. Don't speak for 5 minutes without realizing that you're on mute. So Juliana,
great.
the
great.
biggest
I'll
question.
tell you why. Eric, I'll tell you why it's great, because now I can cross it off on my bingo.
That's right. I want to see the bingo thing at the end. Juliana, my question was, how do you currently find paying customers or clients? Because oftentimes, to Miriam's point earlier, how do we use the processes you've already got, and how do we tweak those so that we're dealing with our current situation? That's probably the starting point, and then there's a lot of different directions we could go.
Right. So, for example, I had a class set up for the beginning weekend, the first weekend in April, a printmaking class. I do wood cuts. So my students were coming to a 2-day workshop. And the first day we were going to be carving our wood. And the second day we would be printing from the blocks. I have a press in my studio. So we would be inking and laying the paper down and putting the paper through the press so that we could each have our individual prints. The theme was flowers. So now I've kind of postponed the class. I've offered the students to either have a refund or if they're willing to just postpone till summer. So that's one of my revenues. Another revenue stream is just having my studio open. You're welcome to come in. I'm usually open Saturday afternoons from noon to 4, and right on Mountain and 8th. So I do sell some of my art directly to, by having open studio shows. Sometimes I invite other artists to join me, and we do a a show together. I have a small space, but I can support like one other artist. And then I also print onto bags that are reusable. They're cotton bags. And those I'm trying to find outlets for. I have them right now at Bookworks because I like to carve images of my favorite poets and my favorite writers, and then I put them on the bags. So I have them at Bookworks, but they're pretty slow right now as well. And then I also have my artwork in some shows, you know, in galleries. So those are my revenue streams right now.
So,
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Juliana, just as a follow-up, so that's who you sell to, but how do you find them? What processes do you have in place for finding retail outlets or for marketing your art shows and your classes? Because do you have a mailing list already or a virtual shop or that kind of thing? Because that's where you're going to need to build off of right now.
Right. I do have a very faithful mailing list of probably about close to 300 people. And then I'm trying to work on more social media. I'm a little technologically challenged, but I've been getting some support for social media help so that I can direct people to my website. I redid my website. And so that has helped. And the classes and all that are listed on my website. And people can pay through PayPal. So, yeah.
Which channels?
That's how I'm bringing people in. Social media and my mailing list.
Eric asked which channels on social media.
You mean like Facebook or?
Yeah. Which,
Facebook mostly, Instagram. Yeah.
makes sense.
Good.
So,
Go ahead. No, you go.
Are you interested, like, in figuring out virtual stuff too? Like, have you ever done any, like the Zoom cast we're doing right now?
Yeah, I was interested in, that's kind of why I joined, was to find out how I could use Zoom to my, you know, for classes. I mean, the problem is the people really need to come to do their own printing on the press, you know, but there's other things that I could teach that people could do at home on their own. I've been thinking of coming up with, I call it like a kitchen printmaking that would just use very simple materials and wouldn't require a press, that people could be doing at home, especially with kids. So something like that. I'm trying to build up my technological skills so that I could offer something like that.
Those sound cool. Miriam, do you want to wrap up with the question you had led with?
What did I lead with? What?
How to get clients.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a gazillion ideas about how to market art online. And you're just going to have to, you're a little behind the curve on some of that, but you're going to have to get creative and do some of that. Have you been hanging out with Coffee and Creatives? They've got some great conversations going right now about how to support each other and doing some group things. I know your idea with the Bookworks thing, 1 Million Cups, was it, who was talking about, now I can't remember which of the events I went to this week, but they were talking about putting together swag bags for the retail establishments that would be like 25 cool things to put together that people that were buying stuff would get some access for a bonus to support other artists in need during this time. Things like that could be cool. Like if Bookworks was doing, are they closed down entirely, or are they doing deliveries? They're doing curbside pickup, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they're doing deliveries. I think they're still open, but encouraging you to buy online and do deliveries.
So there
And
is
those
an
big-
there is an opportunity to ask the people ordering online if they'd like it packaged in a poet book bag
Oh,
for
yeah.
a little bit of an upcharge.
Right. Oh, that's a good idea.
And then that way you're talking to Bookworks, you're doing a collaboration, they're supporting you, you're supporting them, we're all supporting Albuquerque's efforts to not use plastic,
Yes.
etc.
Hey,
Yes, that was another thing I wanted to do at the markets this summer, was to teach people how they could make their own prints on the bags, you know, simply. So they could have their own bag.
Mhm.
That they
Yeah,
print.
so, and that seems like a thing that could work with the kitchen concept as well, the kitchen print option.
Yeah.
But you know, there's so the other thing about the Copy and Creatives is they were given a lot of different resources for grants and funding for artists during this time as well.
Yes, I'm a big fan of theirs.
Okay, good.
I'm a
I
big
think
fan.
Sean's been taking charge of the research part of it for people. So
Uh-huh.
so yeah, with the kitchen idea is brilliant. It's a great idea. But you're also talking about possibly having people come in with limited time, you know, so there's still the social distancing in this time that you'd have, and somehow being able to supplement, you know, the class maybe with people you're already working with, and saying, okay, I'm going to get it what I can virtual, and in order to limit the amount of time we're in contact with each other, which is actually a great meeting technique anyway, to kind of like, you know, make sort of different venues for different modes of the lesson. So using Zoom in that way would be great. And Eric, do you have advice about how to make Zoom work that way for her?
Well, you know, let's see, I'm a big fan of using the tools you already got. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if I'd go down the Zoom direction personally. I'd lean into Facebook. You already
Facebook
have,
and
or
Instagram
Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, it's a visual medium. I think, and this is one of those things where I might experiment a little bit, but and maybe it's my comfort level. I'd probably start a little bit more on the Facebook side, partially because you have a following and that gives you some additional tagging ability.
Yeah.
And I'm not totally comfortable with doing that kind of stuff on Instagram yet. But where my head was going was, are there, you don't want to give away everything for free, but are there like portions of the class or portions of the workshop that you do that you might just hone in on this piece of it? You know, so you're going to tell your story about, you know, one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm doing prints for bags that are being sold at Bookworks. Here's the link. And here's how I come up with I don't know, I forgot the right term, but the block. Here's how I come up with that piece. And then maybe the next week you go into, here's how I select, you know, these fabrics work great, they really take the ink, these fabrics are going to be bad. So you're piecing out a number of the different things that you'd otherwise teach folks, but you're putting them in little tiny chunks so that you can do like a quick thing on Facebook that folks can come to. And that helps build up your Facebook audience, and that ideally drives some more traffic, whether to Facebook, Instagram, or to your site. That's kind of where my head went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
mine went there too. The other thing that really occurred to me immediately, and I don't know what's set up already since it was a public art thing, but the mountain banners. You guys made a video when they went up, right? Didn't you?
So the ones that went up 2 years ago are still up.
Right.
Yeah.
We got a lot of media attention because I guess the TV stations needed some positive stuff about Albuquerque. So we got a lot of media attention for that.
And thank you for creating that positive attention.
And then now the new ones are going up May 2nd.
Okay. So you might want to do a final video tour of a walk up and down mountain and show each one, so that you can then chunk them out and hopefully say, this artist will print this on a bag or a shirt for you. And you can sell each one at a time. or, you know, I don't know if you did the printing or the other artist did the printing, but, you know, you can then chunk it out and sell each one. Because there's like 3 of them that I find spectacular. I would hang in my house in an instant if they were available as a print right now.
Yeah.
So, and with the transition of the new ones going up, it gives you a chance to sell both, the new ones and the old ones.
Mm-hmm.
Leveraging.
Say, get this before it's gone on the old ones. Here's the new ones, be the first to have. And that way you can support, you know, get those artists together and support each other in creating that offer for people, and send press releases about it. I mean, they're going to need some positive stories about the connection between business and public art and supporting each other collaboratively on the fly. So
Right.
that's what I would do.
Oh, I like that. Yes. Great.
I want to show my face here real quick, just to kind of show you, because what I did with the video is I'm using my computer down here, but I'm using my smartphone so I can be all, you know, accessible this way. And I use this very fancy device to hold my phone. Some people call it a milk crate. And then I just station stuff by using boxes, but no one sees this stuff. No one, like, you get to choose what people see. And if you're all like, you know, open space, anyway, you can do that, and that's just great. Also, I wanted to open to, you said there's another visitor? Eric?
You're muted again.
I'm sorry, I didn't totally get the question. Was there another what?
Is there another visitor you mentioned? So I wanted to open for other questions.
No, I didn't see. So we're working through the Zoom. We didn't get any other additional visitors, but we are kind of coming up on. We do have a little more time, but just to officially sort of wrap up, we're closing in on our time. Do you want to wrap up, or is there like another quick question? How do we want to wrap this one up there, Adam?
Let's go ahead and we can give our closing stuff real quick, and then we can ask if there's anything further.
Well,
so
did you have a question from email from Phil or something?
I did, but Phil just wanted to be on this meeting, and I responded to him, but he apparently isn't able to meet us today. So.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So no specific.
I'll send him a link to this recording after we have it.
Okay.
Oh, that's something too. Eric, what venue are we going to get this recording back to people through?
So I think I'm gonna hike it over to you. So I think my suggestion is probably Facebook page for you, unless you've got another site that you think would be good. And we'll link to it out of like 1 Million Cups with Facebook and Twitter.
I'll probably also put on my website, sparksflow.com, but it's just kind of my focus. I have a very weak Facebook page, but it's there, so that works.
We're all learning.
Anyway,
we're all getting better.
Yeah. Anyway, so would you pull up the contact page?
Oh, sure. Yep. Just a second.
So we all have ways you can contact us, and we decided to go with the format of just 2 contact formats. You can call me too at 505-410-9843, but you can find that on the web page that I put as my contact. And also, the plan is I'm planning to kind of do a kind of how to organize your business sort of stuff this time every Friday. So we can, the format may be changing, but this is where we're at right now.
Okay.
Just another hint in terms of using technology to run our businesses these days, you can screenshot this so that you have all the contact information.
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
Which device do you know how to screenshot on your device you're on?
Sure.
You're a printmaker, so I'm pretty sure you do.
Uh-huh.
I'll share my screen. My screenshot version is sometimes picking up my phone and taking a picture. So I am totally, that's like 90s technology or something, or I don't know.
Are you on Apple, Eric? It's just Shift Apple key 3.
No, I'm on a device that I dare not speak its name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and on Windows devices, all you have to do is push print screen, and that copies the screen. It doesn't print it. And then if you're on a mobile device, there's a combination of pushing one button, power button, and one of the volume buttons or something like that.
Mhm.
You have to research for your particular device, but you push 2 external buttons, and it will take a screenshot.
Screenshot, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Great advice, Miriam.
Thank you so much for all your advice. That's really helpful.
Well, thank you for joining us, Julia. You made it much more directive.
Sure thing.
You scored 3 coaches in 1.
I know. Wow. I was so lucky.
Thank you for emailing me this morning.
Yeah. Hey, and let's see. So I don't think you weren't like, I'm not sure if you're just on the phone or in the chat or whatever, but please, however you sort of came across us, whether it was Facebook or interacting with Adam or whatever, please be sure to drop the link for your site and Facebook and maybe Instagram, just so we've got that. And then that way, when we share this, we can be doing a little bit of work to help promote what you're doing. Okay.
Drop it on Facebook or where I found it.
Yeah, that should work. Just if you tag like Adam or any of us, and you've got the contact information here as well. So we just want to make sure that we're giving back and helping promote the community.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
And just one more thing to make sure, we put a lot of the good ideas for you in the chat. Eric and I were typing in there. So you can save the chat as a file by going to the bottom of chat where you would type your own reply and the 3 little dots on the side.
Okay.
Allow you to save the chat. So this is particularly helpful for people hosting to catch the comments people have left you.
Okay.
How to do that?
And
Everybody
Eric,
can save it for themselves.
do I have that option on the mobile here?
Yeah, got it.
Where you would be in the chat room, where you would be typing your chat, where it's to everyone. Then there's little icons off to the right.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah. Okay. The icons on the side. Yep.
The 3 little dots.
Well, I don't have 3 little dots at that. Raise hand, rename. So on the mobile device, I'm looking at a page for chats.
Okay.
And I've
Somewhere
got everyone's name.
where you would type in, not where you're reading everyone else's comments, but at the bottom. I haven't done it on mobile in a long time. I don't know what it looks like these days, but there's a spot where you would type in.
Yeah, I just did that.
Somewhere in that area, it's going to be file and dots.
I did that privately to Eric, though, instead of to the whole group.
So off to the side of where you see that. So oh, great. Thanks, Julia.
Oh, I see.
So I've got an option, and it may be that since I'm sort of the Zoom host for today, I'm not sure if I am allowed everyone to save the chat, but I have.
No,
so I can send the text file to folks. You did?
Yeah.
Great.
Adam, you might not be seeing it because you have it set to Eric instead of to everyone.
I just switched it to everyone.
Do you see it now?
Yeah, I don't see any dots. There's at the top of the screen.
No, bottom.
There's close.
Bottom right.
On the mobile device.
Yeah, mobile device. Yeah, mobile might make it tougher.
It probably doesn't have it because it's trying to streamline everything, right? So it just says close and chat.
Somewhere.
It says at the top, close and chat. That has all the stuff, and I can scroll up and down through all this great stuff. And then it says send to, and I can choose everyone or.
Do that. Send it to yourself. Email it to yourself. Whatever you want to do.
No, that's just it just changes who I'm like writing to.
I think what we've learned is that he doesn't have access on mobile.
Maybe not. We'll have to play with that.
I probably
learned something new.
Google or something.
Anyway, in any case, I've got the chat saved, so I'll send it to both to Adam. I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
I'm excited, Juliana. I'm going to go look at your stuff.
Oh, wonderful. That sounds
I'm happy to meet one of the artists.
What's that?
I'm happy to meet one of the artists for that stuff. I've admired it every time I bike through there.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. Well, if we can, stop in on Saturdays.
All right.
Yep.
We're not
Maybe
shut
this
down
Saturday,
totally yet.
but it does interest me. I'm not totally phobic of everybody, but we can social distance in a cool space.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Cool.
Thank you, Eric, for hosting, and thank you, Miriam, for joining us.
Bye.
And and Adam will be doing this again next week. So we've learned a lot. Thanks again.